Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. I'm Monish, and as always, I'm joined by Nishant. We had a crazy trade deadline day, didn't we? Almost 20 transfers getting done in the last 24 hours. We expected it to be a silent one, but it was anything but silent. I think on today's episode, we should talk about all the winners, the losers, which team became better, which team got worse. Hey, Houston, I'm talking about you, and all of that in today's episode, okay? And we'll start off with Miami. I think they got the biggest trade. Victor Oladipo, he was the biggest available player in the market. And once Miami knew that they were not getting Lowry, I think they went in for Oladipo. And they retained the biggest win for Miami in this whole thing was they retained Tyler Hero, they retained Duncan Robinson, and they retained uh, Kendrick Nunn as well. So they kept their young guards. They added a good shooter, Oladipo. He can play the 2 or the 3. They flipped Olenek for Belika from the
Yelitsa,
Sacramento.
yeah.
Belicha from the Sacramento Kings. So they got the 3-point shooting as well. They won't miss Olenek's long range shooting. How do you think this elevates Miami? Does this make them a contender really?
I think they were already a contender even before. They were always once they got Butler back and once they were once his performance kicked in and they figured out how to rotate Dragic off the bench or start him every once in a while. I think once they sorted all those initial jitters, they've been balling out. They've been pretty incredible. They had a few games of a rough patch, but like, who doesn't hit those in the regular season? I think that I considered themselves contenders. I considered them contenders even before the this trade. Um, I'm not as wild about the Oladipo trade as a lot of others, and for good reason. I don't. And we've spoken about this, right? I don't see how he plugs a gap that they had. I don't see how he elevates them to a level where we're saying, okay, it's either the Brooklyn Nets or the Miami Heat. And
Yep.
and if we are even saying that, I don't think we should have been saying much different even before the Oladipo trade. I'm just saying this one trade doesn't change a lot there, but that's the immediate future. That's
Right.
this season. I think it's a great move for two reasons. One, as you rightly pointed out, they gave up no one that they would have loved to keep. They retained Nunn, they retained Robinson, they retained Hero, they retained just about everyone, and yet made this move happen. That's a big win.
Yep.
The second reason why I like it is what's the biggest drawback with Oladipo right now? It's that he's not been available for a while. He's had some career-threatening injuries. He's been on and off the field. He's played like 80 games in 2 or 3 years combined. So we don't know. Like we know he can be pretty elite when he plays, but he hasn't in a while consistently. So and then he's on the last year of his contract, which means he's up for signing. He is a free agent, and it's time for a payday. He's going to get paid. I think that much is clear. One club or the other will go after him. Well, I think what Miami have had in this process is they've brought themselves basically an extended trial period before they purchase the premium product, which is going to cost them a high premium. Why that's important, especially for a player that's coming off injuries, is unlike in trades, in free agent signing, the medical happens after the signing, not before.
Right.
So their own team that they trust to take a call and make a judgment will only get to examine him after they sign him, when they sign him in free agency, if they sign him in free agency. That's a big risk to take with Oladipo, and maybe not a risk that Miami would have taken. But now they have a full postseason if they get there, which I think they will, and whatever is the remainder of the regular season to assess him, not only how he fits in, but also what's his fitness. Is this sustainable? Is he worth a big 4-year payday? And then they take a call. And he's going to be a free agent anyway, but what if they wrap it up before that, right? They have enough time to examine him and take an informed decision. That's huge. That's huge for the Miami Heat. So in that sense, they've retained their core. It's a great move. I just don't think it's all that people are making it out to be. If we're talking about how much it elevates their chances as a contender this year, I thought they were pretty strong. I don't think they're a whole lot stronger because of the Oladipo move.
It's pretty funny because the last time we did a Miami episode, they had won 10 out of the last 11 games.
Yeah.
And since we did that, they lost 6 in a row. They finally beat the Knicks and put that streak to an end. But I think Oladipo, what he does is he adds some experience to this team. Sometimes you see Hero and Nunn and Robinson together and you wonder, they're great talent, no doubt about it. But sometimes you need that experience, right? Whenever Jimmy Butler is not on the court, they kind of seem lost. And he's the glue that holds them together. So Oladipo, I think, provides that experience for them, and I think it's till the end of the season, so they're not losing much. If they don't like him, they'll probably let him
Right.
go, and they'll keep that cap space open for the off-season trades. But for now, I think Oladipo is a good trade, and I would give this as a win for Miami.
It's a win for sure. Again, I don't disagree with any of that. I'm not saying it's a bad move. I'm saying it's a great. In fact, it's a great move for their future because it gives them a trial period on what
Yeah.
could be a very expensive product. All I'm saying is I disagree with a lot of opinions that seem to think this move now elevates Miami Heat to the top of the East or puts them right up there, in line with or above the Bucks, maybe even the 76ers. I'm saying that's debatable in itself. But if you are saying Miami Heat is up there, I'm saying the Victor Oladipo trade alone doesn't have too much to do with it. It's
Yeah.
probably more what they always had and what they figured out again this season.
Yep. Miami are sitting like in sixth spot in the Eastern Conference, just in the automatic play-in spot. They might drop to 7, 8, 9, 10. But a team that is going to come up and are almost there is the Chicago Bulls. They're sitting 10th right now, and that means they get a play-in game where they play the 7th or the 8th,
Right.
8th place team, and then we'll see what happens from there. But I think what the Nikola Vucevic trade does for the Bulls is it brings an all-star level player to add to Zach Levine's capabilities so that Zach Levine doesn't do all the scoring, right? If you look at Bulls game all this while, his usage rate has been intense. It's not sustainable if you have a usage rate of 35%. Vucevic, I think what he does is shares the scoring with Zach Levine. It's a much added comfort. How do you think the Vucevic trade elevates Bulls? Does it make them, uh, does it put them right behind Atlanta Hawks, New York Knicks, Charlotte Hornets in that 7, 8, 9, 10 spots?
For this season, for sure. For
Mhm.
the longer future, it's even better. I think Bulls had quite possibly the most spectacular trade deadline day in the
Mhm.
East. You'd be
Mhm.
hard pressed at finding a team that made better moves in the East, and that's where I think relative to where they were before the trade, they've gone up exponentially. Unlike the Miami Heat, that's all I'm saying with these trades.
Right.
Look, they had a few problems. Primary was what you mentioned, which is overly reliant on Zach Levine, which is great. Like he's going to deliver, but it's not very good for the team. It's not sustainable. How long before he wants to walk out? And he's up for a renewal too. Zach Levine needs to get paid.
Yep.
So then, as a franchise, you're now looking at making moves to give your superstar the comfort that you're building in the right direction, that you want to win. This is a big statement in that direction because Vucevic is 30 years old, not too old, but that's not young either. Which means this is not really a let's build for 5 years down the line plan. This is
Mhm.
let's try and get somewhere now plan, and that's what
Yep.
excites Levine. That's great. Zach Levine is so underrated, it hurts me. He's been improving on his points per game every single year in the league, bar one season where he only played 20 something games and he was out injured. Except that every single year he's gotten better and better and better. In recent stretches, he's been averaging damn near 30, 27, 28, 30 points a game. He's
Yep.
shooting above 50% from the field. He's shooting 43 from the 3-point line.
Yep.
And he's as athletic as any player I've ever seen. He's right up there with Michael Jordan and Vince Carter in that department as an above the rim player. Shoots from anywhere, gets his own shot. It's incredible. Now you've given him Vucevic, which first of all that's a huge upgrade from whoever else they had playing that position.
Right.
And I'm talking just of their play, but I'm going to get to their GM and how awesome I think this whole cycle has been. Vucevic and Levine now are one of the best pick and roll duos in the league.
Mhm.
Because not only do you have an elite, a big man that can screen and create opportunities for Levine, but when he fades, you got a deadly scorer in himself. He's not a great three shooter, but he's pretty outstanding from the interior, and he has like an effective field goal percentage of 65 plus. That's unbelievable for a. So they've got all of this, an elite pick and roll game. But now we come to the org level perspective, which is how they made this move happen, and that's where this entire move truly elevates, right? Because what did they give up to get Vucevic? It was one of the most sought after big men in the game that's
Right.
available. They gave up Otto Porter Jr., Wendell Carter Jr., and 2 first round picks.
Yep.
But here's where it gets interesting. Both those first round picks are top 4 protected, so they're not really giving up that much. Like if they have a top 4 pick, they keep it. If not, they move it on. Great, fine, fantastic. Then they gave up Otto Porter Jr. I hear he's outstanding. I don't know. When does he ever play? Like he's another one of these forever in the hospital kind of guy. Like hospital FC.
Right.
He doesn't play. What do I do? Wendell Carter Jr. is whatever. Maybe, like he's young, he's got age on his side, but that's about all he's got on his
Yeah,
side.
I think
as
they
of
had
now.
this they ran out of patience with Wendell Carter Jr. because he never got a real stretch of games, right? He was always getting injured, similar to Otto Porter Jr.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was always injured. So, yeah, you're right when you say that Bulls did not really give up much.
Nothing, hardly anything
Yep.
they gave up.
Yep.
And they like first round top 4 protected picks. I mean, come on, if they ever do tank, they have a top 4 pick. They keep it. So they're
Yep.
giving up nothing. And now the GM also quite ominously said they're not done. And that's a good sign because okay, now you have Levine, you have Vucevic, you have Markkanen who's getting better with every game.
Yep.
That's a decent young core, and you have a few others, right? What do you need to complete this piece? You either need a 3-and-D wing.
Mhm.
Like it's great if you can get one, but they've got a few young players promising in that department. What they really need is a great point guard that completes the picture. Someone that
Right.
takes that usage rate burden off of Levine, somebody that creates plays because Levine can then he's free to move around in space and exploit opportunities there. That's the next level for Levine's game. I think Vucevic unlocks quite a few opportunities for him. A good point guard would unlock some more. And then this trio, I love it. I'd love to see it.
Yep.
Lonzo Ball is a point guard that will be available in the postseason. There's a bunch more that are coming. So I think exciting times ahead for Bulls as an org overall. But even for this season, I love this move. They're in the playoffs for sure, and let's see where they go.
Absolutely. It looks like someone heard our get Lavine out of Chicago plea. And
They got
finally,
Vucevic
instead of
into
getting
Chicago.
instead of getting Lavine out of Chicago, yeah, you got Vucevic to Chicago. It's incredible that Lavine is a multiple time slam dunk champion. And when you think of that, you'll think of someone who scores heavily in the paint. But you look at his 3-point shooting, it's like incredible. He'll be one of those guys who would probably win both the dunk contest and the
I'll tell you what,
and the
by the way,
3-point contest.
you see so many of these slam dunk champions, and that's their peak. That's the peak
Yes.
point of their career. Like they disappear after that. Diallo,
Yep.
all of these guys that have won the dunk contest. Even a Josh Smith who had a decent career, but he wasn't a mover and shaker in the league by any stretch. So usually slam dunk contest winners don't always go on to have great careers. You have your exceptions, Carter and Kobe and Jordan, but by and large they don't. So when I saw this guy, I'm like, alright, great, he can dunk. That's great for video games and ad promos and Mountain Dew and whatever. But is he all that? And for a long time, I had written him off because he won the dunk contest. Like that was how Pavlovian the conditioning was. To see him turn into this is pretty spectacular.
All right, so that was the Bulls, and we spoke about Miami. These were the winners of the trade deadlines. That's all we have for today's episode. We got to come back and talk about the losers of the trade deadline. We'll do that soon as well. But that's all for today. Nice talking with you. See you.
Cheers, man. Losers discussions are always fun.